की जलाओ शाम जलाओ,
चारों दिशाओं को महकाओ, देव दर्शन ढूंढ।
People were being robbed of their lands by the Gandhi family. I've said this in Parliament. For 600 rupees, a 30-acre piece of land taken on rent, the family builds itself a nice, lovely complex there. The idea that
They could do
at
some
the
wrong.
head of a foundation, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Vadra, could mandate usurping of lands of farmers in Amethi was foreign. Can I speak for the Vice President of India? I can't. Can I speak for the Speaker of the Lok Sabha? I can't. It's not as if the opposition doesn't know it. They know it. And the opposition is hell-bent on ensuring that there's a competitive spirit about who can angle that I'm more anti-Modi than my colleague within my same party. The issue is that when you say, why did you wade into a controversy? What did you think? You'll slap me around and I'll say, Hanji, please, ek aur. Nahin. You whack me about, I'll hit back. And I'll then hit back, and I'll hit back, and I'll hit back. Till you decide not to whack me anymore. They went after a 16-year-old girl to destroy a child because they couldn't handle the attack from the mother. And I have not even digressed into it that Mrs. Gandhi has a grandchild of her own. Who is the girl? Because that's not my politics. That is a typical Gandhi Khandan, mafioso kind of politics. But I can promise you this. Because of that one thing that they did to my 16-year-old kid, I am hell-bent for the rest of my life. If Rahul Gandhi comes into Amethi, he will lose. Does not matter whether I am the BJP candidate or not. The Gandhis will never win Amethi again.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Thank you for watching or listening to the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. And thank you also for sharing with those who you think will benefit from listening or watching these conversations. My guest today is Cabinet Minister Smriti Irani, who's been called a giant slayer for having defeated Rahul Gandhi in Amethi, the family bastion, in the general election of 2019. She's been a parliamentarian since 2011 and is a fierce debater. Smriti Zubin Irani was the youngest minister in PM Modi's second ministry in 2019. She's held the portfolios of Minister of Women and Child Development since 2019 and also Minister of Minority Affairs since 2022 as the first non-Muslim to hold the position. She previously served as Minister of Human Resource Development 2014 to 2016. Minister of Textile and Minister of Information and Broadcasting 2017 to 2018. Smriti is both liked and feared by the media because she doesn't mince her words. She's a polyglot and can speak Punjabi, Bengali, Gujarati, English and Hindi. And before all her political achievements, she's had a very successful career in the Bombay film industry. Many of you will recall the iconic character of Tulsi that she played in the Ekta Kapoor serial Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. Smriti ji, finally on my podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I think every 5 years you give me an interview.
Do I?
2014. Uske baad 2014 when you were in Amethi, I tailed you. Then 2019 I tailed you.
I think in 2014 you're a bit circumspect.
Huh.
You have seen so many politicians say so much to media about their own achievements or possibilities of achievements that I still remember that look that you gave me in Amethi, where you were like, yep, I've seen that look before of somebody who's facing abject defeat but is insisting that they will win. So I think you were being kind to somebody you think was whimsical about their political opportunities.
Okay, that was a lot of analysis you did with that pehla
One
look. So my first impression at that time, though I'd seen you before in
Thankfully, you
theatre.
didn't have the bechari marne wali hai look.
Nahi.
Because there were many people who
Yeah.
were of that opinion, and many who had, in fact, they have this whole demeanor as though आपकी कोई शहादत होने वाली है
Yeah,
या आपका कोई
sacrificial lamb.
जनाजा
हाँ.
उठने वाला है. So mercifully you didn't have that.
No. My first reaction was that not of what people were saying, that sacrificial lamb. My thing was, oh my God, she's here for a long term. Because when when the suitcases were coming on the conveyor belt, I was standing next to you, and your suitcase came and before mine. So I offered to help, and you said no, I will pick up my own case. So I thought, okay, refreshing. She doesn't have, a legion of
litany of people.
Yeah, helping you with the suitcase.
I never did.
You didn't.
I
Yeah.
didn't have it in my media career. I didn't fancy it in politics. I think that it's one, if you need to be managed, then how will you manage the aspirations or the challenges of others? So I have been a lone wolf would be too much, but yeah.
Even in 2019, when I came to that pokey little flat you had above those shops at the bottom, and then you had that, and it was so ordinary, if I may. I'm not trying to say that you didn't have a luxurious apartment, or you didn't even have a well-appointed apartment. It was
We
just
in
chotu.
2014 got a space, and remember at that time Sonia Gandhi was UPA president, and Akhilesh had the reins in Uttar Pradesh along with Mulayam Singh ji, and nobody was even willing to offer us any space.
No,
to
2019
live
I'm
in.
talking
Yes,
about.
that's the thing. 2019 was a leg up. In 2014, we got 3-4 rooms above a cement godown. We had no wherewithals, we had no furniture, nothing. So there was a group of women, all of us stacked up in that little godown, so-called apartment. And I remember most of us, when we came back, we call it home, when we used to come back after our campaign, it was a 20-22 long day campaign. And there was some of us who would wake up the next day, kind of, I mean, I still have a mark where some insect would bite us, or you would fall sick, suddenly come up with a fever because you caught some infection.
Yeah.
There was not a thing available, not a single hotel there, which is extraordinary for a place which has had 40 years of a Gandhi rule. And no hotel, no guest house, no rest house, no sarkari guest house, where, even the DM could functionally possibly work out of. There was no collector's office. There was no fire station there. No hospital had a CT scan machine. In fact, the first X-ray machine that came into a district hospital came after we intervened. We had no dialysis center. We have no police line there. So there were many firsts in Amethi.
Yeah.
So where I would live was the least of the problems. 2019 was a leg up because by then there was also a sense of fear in 2014. कि भाई आप तो लड़के चले जाओगे, उसके बाद हमारे पीछे लोग पड़ेंगे कि हाउ डे यू सपोर्ट द बीजेपी. तो खौफ का माहौल वहाँ पर 2014 में था, which आपने भी देखा, you were witness to it.
Yeah.
So for us to be so belligerent कि हम लड़ने आए हैं और we are here to stay, people took it with a pinch of salt. 19 was a bit different because by then I had spent 5 years there. And I had already told people that there's no guarantee who the BJP candidate will be in 19 because that's a parliamentary board decision. But by then people, साहस मिला लोगों को कि ठीक है दीदी, मेरे घर के ऊपर वाला जो घर है या मेरे गोडाउन के ऊपर वाला जो 2-3 कमरा है वो आपको किराए पे हम दे सकते हैं. तो 19 में सीमेंट के गोडाउन से हटकर हम किसी दुकान के ऊपर वाले जो 2-3 कमरे हैं वहाँ पे रहने की हमारी
fumes. I was like, how are you living here?
But that is a life that people in Amethi were leading. Why should mine be any different?
Yeah.
I think that for many journalists, it was a shocker.
Yeah.
Because the presumption in Lutyens, or for that matter, journalists around the world, there were some who came from far and wide, was that, अरे यहाँ पे तो गांधी खानदान इतने साल रहा है, तो यहाँ पे तो मतलब 5-star accommodations होंगे, facilities होंगे. I remember one news channel which did an interview of mine in the middle of a ramshackle home. in 19, the editor said कि घर मिट्टी का है लेकिन टॉयलेट मोदी ने बाहर पक्का बना दिया है. You know, so that contrast was more than visible for people.
You know, I've covered elections in Amethi for several years. Every time I would go, you know, Lucknow se niklo. And I've said this before on shows and things, that there wasn't a single place you could stop for a loo break. From, so you, women
It is very
journalists-
difficult for people to.
they don't understand it, you know, and nobody used reporting it, mind you. I've written it, I've reported it also. Women reporters who got out from Lucknow to go to Amethi would have to come back
To Lucknow.
to Lucknow, right? So
And you have to contextualize for people that Amethi is 1.5 hours away from Lucknow.
Yeah.
So you would have to come all the way there, operate the whole day, and then go back.
yeah. So you shoot before sun goes down, you shoot, and for a television journalist, for that was important. And
Because
more
there would be no
importantly,
electricity.
No
so
electricity.
there are pictures of me standing atop a gadi. And people with their torches out and some candles out and me addressing a crowd. So somebody called me and said, really?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think they don't have electricity? I said, they genuinely don't.
Don't. And for women, because there are no loo stops and there's no loo in Amethi also, there was nothing. You know, you couldn't go just anywhere. So you basically don't eat breakfast, unlike the other male journos who would tank up on their breakfast and their coffees. And we can't, right? Because you don't know.
I
mean,
think what is significant is that everybody knew, nobody wrote about it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So when you're saying that foreign journalists came, foreign journalists were not writing that. Like, for example, when I went, I don't remember which election it was, they would keep saying, yeah, 4 kasturba bane, 2 kasturba bane. I said, what is kasturba bane hai? What are kasturbas? Those were women's hostels. So there was a women's hostel, the kasturba, in the middle of marshy land.
It would be inhabitable.
Yes, exactly.
It would have no furniture where you could possibly operate.
Nothing.
From,
There was nobody
study
inside it.
from, or if it's a hostel to sleep in.
No.
Nothing.
And then this was in a marshy land. So, pehli baat to you can't access it because of the marsh. And women staying there. It was a women's hostel. उधर से निकल के वो कस्तूरबा से अगर हॉस्टल है वो निकल के how will she go to her campus or college?
It took me a while to tell people that genuinely believe me that people were being robbed of their lands by the Gandhi family. The idea that
They could do
at
some
the
wrong.
head of a foundation, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Vadra could mandate usurping of lands of farmers in Amethi was foreign. Because people say, अरे इतना पैसा है क्या करेंगे ये वाली ज़मीन लेके. But they took land in the name of industrialization. There was land in one area which was for minority girl students. They took over that land to open their own office. Girls who went against the family and did dharna against them were imprisoned. Young school girls from the minority community. So the whole concept that was sold about the Gandhi family was that they're benevolent, was that they're so cultured they could possibly never loot, was that they're so erudite, that they're so well read, that how could they possibly have a disconnect with the needs of the people and not serve it. I think that my Amethi journey contrasted that, and suddenly a lot of people found voice. Journalists, yes, were compelled to then convey that voice. But those voices existed. They never had an outlet. So people were, there's one Samrat Cycle Zameen, which is something that I've brought up many a times in Parliament. In the 80s, that land was procured from farmers. They were given the hope कि इधर factory लगाएंगे. Some bicycle manufacturer was called and then told कि आप इसमें factory लगाओ. Like clockwork, the guy declares bankruptcy कि हम नहीं चला सकते. And like clockwork, a foundation which is not supposed to do any commercial activity takes over the land. So when I go to Amethi, the first question I ask is the foundation can never do commercial activity. How is a land which is deemed for commercial purposes taken up by the foundation? It's been under lock and key. I was told, अरे यहाँ ऐसे ही होता था. And I found many such parcels of land belonging to people. For instance, there is a promise given 30-40 years ago कि भाई हम यहाँ पे अस्पताल बना देंगे परिवार को ज़मीन दे दो. परिवार मीन्स द गांधी फैमिली. They take the ज़मीन. Munshiganj guest house is there. They never build the medical college. So when Prime Minister Modi starts his endeavor of building medical colleges across all districts, I go and I request, ki, can we get one for Amethi? You look at the records. That land was taken for $600.
Huh?
Yes, I've said this in Parliament. For 600 rupees, a 30-acre piece of land taken on rent. The family builds itself a nice, lovely complex there.
Man found the perfect antique for your shelf. It's one of a kind. Share the video.
One of a kind, no? Tell them I already got it. Ready for a new way to search with the Galaxy S24 Ultra?
But never builds the medical college for which they took the land.
Interesting.
My issue is, how much is too much? I mean, you took over so much property in Delhi, in Bombay. अमेठी के गरीब लोगों को तो छोड़ देते हैं.
I'm going to come back to Amethi. But first, let's do the biggest stories of the day because I have you here today.
Which stories are those?
So, several of them. Firstly, just an hour before we are shooting this, it's just come out that Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge is probably the Prime Minister candidate for the India Alliance.
Are you sure?
I believe Mamta Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal proposed the name. And Kharge ji is saying कि पहले election जीतना हमारा goal है. उसके बाद प्राइम मिनिस्टर का देखेंगे बट apparently that seems to be a consensus. Nobody objected to it.
So you have not said that Mrs. Gandhi has said, my son hereby abdicates the throne. My daughter will never be in the race for prime minister. Here is Mr. Kharge and now forever. Shall he reign as president and forever? Shall a non-Gandhi always be a PM aspirant? Has that happened yet?
Well, not exactly.
Then take it with a pinch of salt.
No, but they did nominate
Who's the they? None of
the Gandhi family. They had Narasimha Rao.
Was Narasimha Rao
Manmohan
happy nomination or a political majburi?
Well, whatever the...
Or Manmohan Singh ji for that matter. Look back at history. Were any of them?
तो ये भी तो मजबूरी होगी ना जो खरगे जी को कर रहे हैं.
I cannot say anything till an official announcement is made. But what is interesting for you and for what you've highlighted is that the name did not come as a proposal from Mrs. Gandhi. It came from parties which are not Congress party members, or for that matter, Congress party leadership. It came from outside.
Maybe that was deliberate.
Maybe, but till such time you do not have Mrs. Gandhi say, my son, like I said, hereby abdicates the throne. My daughter, my son-in-law, my grandchildren have no claim to the throne. Please take it with a pinch of salt.
But उन्होंने तो कभी कहा ही नहीं ना कि हम प्रधानमंत्री बनना चाहते हैं.
I think that you've had enough discussions in the studio which also alludes to how they ran governments. I mean, the 10 years of UPA was more than sufficient to certify.
So there's no question of abdication. There's nothing about...
But the difference is right now you have two people who are in the race already.
Who are the two people? For
Brother
India
and
Alliance?
the sister. No. I'm saying that... So what is interesting for me is that if you're saying that we are breaking away from the tradition of dynasty, have you had that declaration by Sonia Gandhi yet? You haven't had it.
But maybe she doesn't need to.
I think in contrast, you have had Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who was literally on the floor of the house, accepted that it's impossible to defeat Prime Minister Modi. So with certain defeat before them, is that why there's a discussion on Kharge ji's name? And Kharge ji, being the astute politician that he is, has said, नहीं अभी नहीं, जीतने के बाद देखा जाएगा.
But also, I mean, in the journo circles, it's become very interesting. Ki,
don't believe anything in the journo circles. Most of them are disconnected from realities.
But regarding the BJP,
possibly they are selling some new fancy idea that they fancy is, the short strategy.
Nahi na. Journalists these days have no clue, especially regarding your party. एक नाम नहीं पक्का हुआ था कि कौन.
मुझे लगता है दिल्ली शहर के बारे में कुछ खुशफहमियां लोगों को है. मैं इस शहर में पली बड़ी हूँ. एक खुशफहमी है कि पूरी की पूरी दिल्ली ए पॉलिटिकल है. पॉलिटिकल दिल्ली दिमाग वालों की है, सामान्य दिल्ली दिल वालों की है. और दिमाग वाली इस दिल्ली में जो राजनीति से भरी हुई है वहाँ पे 4 चीज़ों को मैंने देखा है लाइफ में, मेरे 10 साल के अनुभव में एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, और मैं तीसरा टर्म है मेरा एज एन एमपी। मैं 2 बार राज्यसभा की सांसद रह चुकी हूँ। आपके पास आपकी पीठ पे छुरा भोंकने का भी दुश्मन नहीं आता, दोस्त आता है। यहाँ पे रिश्ते बनते हैं जब चाय पिलाई जाती है, मीठी मीठी बातें होती हैं, रिश्तों की दुहाई दी जाती है, दोस्तियाँ होती हैं। लेकिन उस पूरे चक्रव्यूह में सपोजिशंस बहुत रहती हैं। तो कल लग गया तो लग गया। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उस दिल्ली में अगर मोदी मंत्र, अगर एंगेजमेंट का और कम्युनिकेशन का आप देखें तो बुरा नहीं है, बिकॉज इन दीज हैलोड हॉल्स ऑफ पावर many a careers came to die because they did not understand the complexity of this dimag wali Delhi. And I think what Prime Minister is doing now, and because he has seen Delhi up close, not only as an administrator, not only as a chief minister, he's also seen it as somebody who built the organization. He realized the pitfalls of it. And that is why when I see a lot of grassroots leaders find a voice, new faces find a voice, it is of great, I think, comfort to कार्यकर्तास। ठीक है, नाम चला रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब जर्नलिस्ट को कुछ पता नहीं।
हाँ, that's also true that it took a while, I think, for Delhi journos to figure out that they are inconsequential to the system.
No, I don't think that they are inconsequential in
Those-
terms of communication to the rest of the country. On issues of
power
domestic and
struggles.
international import, the media does play a very significant role. But many people within the media do not limit themselves to reportage. They become power brokers. And I think that is what Prime Minister Modi has broken. It's not only the power brokers in the media, but brokers of all kind have been shoved out of the system because the people of our country deserved better.
Let me come to the other news story which happened, which is of the suspension. I think 141, the last score that I heard, 142 MPs suspended. Now, your party is being accused by the opposition of being dictatorial. Harsimrat Badal even said that
My party cannot suspend anybody.
Well-
It's the Speaker of the House
Huh.
and the Vice President of India who can.
But it's being said that you built.
So it makes for great headlines that BJP is dictatorial, but anybody who understands parliamentary procedure knows there's not BJP that announces people are suspended.
The successful running of the house, both of houses, is the job of the ruling party.
Agreed.
And that has not been happening. And it's
Because I think that the opposition, and this is my personal feeling, the opposition is hell-bent on ensuring that there's a competitive spirit about who can angle that I'm more anti-Modi than my colleague within my same party. So today, when the Vice President of India, the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, announces that these are the procedures which cannot be violated as a parliamentarian, after knowing those procedures, you still go ahead and violate it. That means you're being mindful of the rules that you're breaking. You're also mindful of the consequences that will occur. Now, this is not a classroom. This is the Parliament of India. There is a historical context to every activity that is undertaken in Parliament. There is a precedent that you set, not only from a domestic perspective, but also an international parliamentary perspective of how business in a house is conducted. We are a part of many such international unions or associations or organizations that study the functionality of our parliament. Can you have the Vice President of India or the Speaker of the House announce a set of rules and regulations and procedures in terms of your parliamentary engagement and willfully have parliamentarians break those rules and then expect no consequence for it from the Speaker of the House? Because there's a precedent that you're setting.
But these
So
were the
I am
norms
of the- I
which
am
were
of the
anyway
opinion-
happening, right? Getting into the well of the house, placards. It's been there
so
for
if you
decades.
say that I want to ensure that there is dysfunctionality because I am going to be anarchist, and people before me in parliaments before me were allowed it, and hence I shall also break the rule. The question is how long, how much, and how far. So it is not only the responsibility but also the right of the chairman of the Rajya Sabha and the speaker. What shocks me is not the juvenile reaction of the former Congress president. The fact that
Which one are you
even,
referring to?
I mean, there is one who is of substance from an Amethi perspective, which is Rahul Gandhi. I could never imagine the depths of depravity when you not only urge a fellow parliamentarian to mock the Vice President of India, because it's not an individual, it's an institution.
Kalyan Banerjee is mocking,
Yes.
mimicking.
And that is supposed to be a very erudite, legal. On the steps of the parliament, you mock the Vice President of India, you think it's funny. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi films it, encourages it. Now, there is a decorum which is expected of us as parliamentarians. I've had issues on which I have not, in the 10 years of the UPA, I had served a few years in the opposition. But never in my life had I, as a parliamentarian, mocked the chair, mocked the speaker, or use words that brought disrepute to the chair. Because that, like I said, is not an individual, that's an institution. So I always thought that maybe this is the end of juvenile politics by Mr. Gandhi. But to willfully stand there and encourage disrespect towards the Vice President of India, now that's a new low that he has hit. Kalyan Banerjee included, but every parliamentarian who stood there and laughed and encouraged Kalyan Banerjee to humiliate the Vice President's office is equally culpable.
And there's
So
been
in
no
the
apology
House,
as yet.
in the House, can you expect them to do better? This is the same set of people. Mr. Venugopal was standing there and laughing. For what?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not an individual. That's an institution. And then can you expect better when they're in the House? They pay no heed.
So, what is worrying though is that what happened outside is, of course, that a constitutional post was mocked. That
Can you
is
deny
bad.
that constitutional post the right then to deliver justice?
And then there is this which happened, which is more suspension.
They
It seems
stood
like
on
everything is
they stood on the table and threw a book at the chair. If you remember,
This is not this
Harivansh ji,
incident. Yeah.
yes, the deputy chairperson, they were slamming books on the table. They were chucking papers at the chair.
This is the earlier parliament building.
Yes, but it's the same opposition.
Yeah.
Same members who are playing truant.
So Harsimrat Badal says that this new parliament building is a graveyard of democracy because
It may be a graveyard for those who consider themselves opposition. But why should it be a graveyard of democracy? Who uses those words? It's not as if the BJP always had a winning streak. We were on the losing side as well. But did we as political activists ever demean our institutions? You can question process, procedures and ask. But can you say that the parliament is not to be given due respect only because you're not in power?
So they keep bringing up Mr. Arun Jaitley and Ms. Sushma Swaraj's statement saying these kind of protests are part of democracy where you can protest in
Is
parliament.
throwing a paper at the chair. Has Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley ever thrown a crumpled up, balled up piece of paper at the chair? No. Have Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj ever banged books on the table of the Rajya Sabha? No. Have Arun Jaitley or Sushma Swaraj ever mocked the Vice President of India on the steps of Parliament? No. Have Arun Jaitley or Sushma Swaraj used language within Parliament which brings disrepute to parliamentary procedures as such? No.
Do you think this was done deliberately
Of course
to
it was.
invite suspension? Because
Yes.
that seems to have united.
But that's more than obvious.
Okay.
You know the rules. You know the consequence of breaking it. If I broke a rule today, do you think that the Speaker or the Vice President of India will have any mercy for me? Not at all. Because they cannot show a precedence where I can, let's say, break a law or a procedure and then not invite the wrath of the chair.
But this has united the India Alliance where they were.
Can you imagine breaking the law unites them?
Point.
Bringing disrepute to Parliament unites them. Mocking the Vice President of India unites them. The last time there was an election for the President's office, to humiliate the President of India, that united them.
Okay. The comment that was made.
Yes,
by
they were
Adhiram.
united in their attempt to humiliate the President of India. So what you're telling me is that they come together only when they have to demean Indian institutions. Otherwise, they never come together.
Were you in Parliament when those two people jumped into the?
I was in the foyer, yes,
You
and
were
I
in the
walked in immediately after the House was called to order.
Why is there no? I mean, I'll get into the other issues, but why is there no drill conducted to
I
exit
can't
from?
because there is a investigation already underway.
No,
and
I mean drill
Parliament right
conducted
now
to
is-
exit from the when such kind of an attack happened. We saw people just sauntering around, hands in the pocket, shuffling. When there is an attack, it's quite clear, and everybody's wits should be have been there, and they should have evacuated. They should have left from the exits, but they were just hanging around.
I think, like I said, the procedures which are now to govern conduct in such circumstances is something which is under the aegis of the
Okay.
Speaker of
So you haven't had those kind
office.
of drills
My issue
before?
was that when we went back immediately, people like me, Praladji, all of us, at 2 o'clock, we reassembled. It was essential at that time to show democracy at work. It was essential at that time show that there is no fear. That whatever has happened in the chamber does not desist us to come back to that very hallowed hall and gather again so that business can be conducted by the Speaker. The Speaker expects of all of us that we contribute and support him. If I today, in this interview, start questioning processes, procedures while Parliament in session, while investigation is ongoing, while the Speaker himself has said, no matter what your political organization, everybody needs to contribute so that systems can be bettered. I would digress from my responsibility then. My responsibility as a parliamentarian and as a minister was, it does not matter where I am, how I am, what my concerns are personally. I need to be in that house when the bell rings and we assemble again, so that when citizens of the world see the Indian Parliament, they don't see empty benches, they see resolute parliamentarians irrespective of their politics standing there.
So is it so difficult or is it so wrong for the opposition to demand that the Prime Minister or the Home Minister come and give a statement? Why not?
I think that the Speaker has already spoken on this issue. He's also invited dialogue on the issue. The challenge that the opposition is afflicted with is that those institutions, processes that do not converge under the Prime Minister's office but actually are the hallmarked intervention of the Speaker. They want the Prime Minister to speak for the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Constitutionally,
Yeah.
can the Prime Minister speak for the Speaker's chair, which is over and above
The
all
Home Minister
politics,
can't.
which is over and above even parliamentary security, is under the aegis of the Speaker.
But the Delhi police
Can
does
they
come.
speak on the Speaker's behalf? They can't. The Speaker can, but you deny the Speaker the right to conduct deliberations and dialogues.
Okay. So
Can I speak for the President of India? I can't. Can I speak for the Vice President of India? I can't. Can I speak for the Speaker of the Lok Sabha? I can't. It's not as if the opposition doesn't know it. They know it. So I think that when your opposition is reduced to just headline hunting, and when you want to ensure that there is this cantankerous intervention of always creating some kind of friction or conflict, then you're not serving the purpose of finding a solution or serving the purpose of wanting a dialogue.
it's just for disruption.
The major aim is that how do I target Modi?
You really think it was for Modi?
It is. Because like I said, the Speaker of the House is over and above all politics. It is under his authority. He has the authority and he has fulfilled his responsibility of speaking on the issue, inviting dialogue. You deny him that right by insisting that the Prime Minister speaks.
Okay. You know, I'll rewind a bit for a couple of days before all this happened, which was that where you said that about the menstrual cycle leave.
Yes.
That whole thing, it was so interesting because you said, and I'm going to quote, you said menstrual cycles are not a handicap. And I was like, yeah, yes. Because I got into the workforce.
I could have said much more.
You could.
I didn't. Because the gentleman who asked the question never intended to find a solution for women.
So it was Professor Manoj Kumar Jha, and he says, will the Minister of Women and
Just
Child
allow
Development
me
be
to
pleased
just
to
look at
state?
this. Can you look at part C of the question?
Yeah, whether the policy contains provisions to promote and provide for menstrual hygiene among LGBTQIA community.
Now tell me, the LGBTQIA community that the honorable member wanted a response for, which gay man without a uterus has a menstrual cycle? So the question was intended either to shock or to provoke or to attract attention, which it did attract attention.
Yeah.
It did shock many people. It did provoke a controversy. But the question in itself indicates to you what the intent is.
But you also said as a woman who's menstruating.
Yes, but like I said, if I talk now outside Parliament and I have to reflect on it as a female professional, the LGBTQIA plus, he wants me, Manoj Jha wants me to provide an answer about how can I provide for their menstrual hygiene.
For gay men.
Which, for gay men, is it applicable? The second issue is, he says in his communication that Bihar has a policy of menstrual leave.
Which is not here visible,
He said this on the floor of the House.
but didn't
that-
mention it in.
Yeah, so if you look at this question alone, allow me to go back to it. If you go back to this question alone,
Whether the government is planning to roll out.
there is a policy which is, if you look at my answer, it talks
Yeah.
about a policy which is available on a website. The issue is, in his verbal intervention, he says Bihar has a policy. He insinuates as though Bihar is an overarching policy which is applicable to the private sector. His question